Classified crime is on the case of Sarah Boone, and shocking surprise out of left field, her appeals attorney requests to withdraw. Let's get into this. So here we have her court-appointed appellate attorney e-filed this withdrawal motion on 7/28 at 11:44 a.m. And it's a motion to withdraw and request for appointment of new appellate counsel. Comes now the undersigned court-appointed conflict counsel for the appellant and pursuant to Florida rule, blah, 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 respectfully moves to withdraw as counsel and request that new counsel be appointed. In support, counsel states, and he has 4 reasons. 1, appointment and procedural posture. The appellant, Sarah Boone, was convicted in the Circuit Criminal Court and subsequently filed a notice of appeal. The undersigned was appointed by the lower tribunal as conflict counsel after conviction to handle the appellant's appeal pursuant to Florida statutes. A notice of appeal has been filed, and the undersigned has complied with the appellate rules by filing the necessary statement of judicial acts, directions to clerk, and transcript designations. So he's basically saying he was appointed and he's done what he's required to do thus far. 2, good cause for withdrawal. This rule provides that trial counsel may not be relieved of duties except with approval of the lower tribunal on good cause shown. The undersigned is no longer practicing appellate work or accepting court-appointed appellate cases, which would make continued representation a hardship. Continuing to represent the appellant on appeal would materially impair counsel's ability to provide effective assistance and would delay or jeopardize the appellant's appellate rights. So he's saying he has a private practice. He's not really working in appeals. If he stays on the case, he's not going to be able to dedicate the time needed to represent the appellant, Sarah Boone. Now, reading between these lines, my opinion, he is saying, I can't deal with this and run my practice. It would materially impair the counsel's ability. So materially, he's not going to be able to make money on focusing on cases that are actually giving him, his salary, his financial stability. And he's not able to provide the assistance that Sarah Boone specifically requires, with 9 people constantly blowing up his phone and email, not to mention her, and then her writing the court. To me, this is no shock that this came right after her writing the court complaining about him. Okay, 3, need for appointment of successor counsel. So he's covering all his bases. Because this is a publicly funded appeal, the appellant is entitled to the continued assistance of counsel. The rule directs that in publicly funded appeals, the lower tribunal should appoint the public defender or the Office of Criminal Conflict and Civil Regional Counsel or private registry counsel to represent the defendant on appeal rules. The undersigned therefore requests that the court enter an order relieving current counsel of record and appointing appropriate successor counsel. Now, if you remember, he did file for an extension to file the initial brief, and they did grant him 60 days. So if she does get appointed new public defender or whatever they decide to appoint her, they're going to have to file for another extension, which is going to delay her case, which we all know she doesn't really care about that. She might say that she does, but really she's okay with delaying it because she's pushing off the inevitable decision that's going to be life in prison, and she has nowhere else to go from there. Of course, she'll probably go to the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera. But once the appeal rule is finalized, she can't keep in her mind the denial. So I think that's why she constantly delays these things, because in the back of her mind, she does know she doesn't really have a fighting chance, but she lies to even herself. All right. 4, client contact information. Pursuant to the rule, counsel provides the appellant's last name contact information, and it gives her address at the Lowell Annex. Wherefore, the undersigned respectfully requests that the court allow counsel to withdraw, appoint the appropriate office, public defender, regional conflict counsel, or registry attorney to represent the appellant on appeal and grant such other relief as proper. And then he signs it with his e-signature and bar and certifies that he has provided a copy to the Attorney General. So that is the motion. Now, this was just filed on the 28th, and it's only Tuesday, so I do expect that there is a response filed sometime this week. So I will stay checking that and keep you posted on whether or not it is granted. So definitely not surprised that he has requested to withdraw, especially with the letter we went over, the notice of inquiry that was filed on the 8th, stating that 9 different outside sources were constantly contacting him to give her an update. And meanwhile, he's trying to go through the transcripts, which is almost 3,000 pages of transcripts, in order to file just the initial brief, because he's got to file citing page numbers from the transcript where the issues are that they're going to be arguing. That's just the initial, kind of outline. So he couldn't even get that done without being harassed about what's going on. Granted, it was right up to the deadline, so it's fair to ask, hey, are you filing this before the deadline? But you don't need to harass someone, and he is not just working on her case. And every attorney has said Sarah Boone would only be happy with someone solely dedicated to her case, and that's just not feasible. Unless there's an retired attorney that just wants to take on her case for whatever reason, but doesn't need to rely on it for their financial stability. If they're running a practice, they can't just have one case at a time. That's not how attorney offices work. That's not how they bring in enough money to sustain themselves. Think about the court-appointed counsel that went to the court and requested not to have to split the $15,000 that they were going to make from the criminal defense trial. Who could live off of one? Her case lasted 5 years. Who could live off of $15,000 over 5 years? No one. Okay, that's not reasonable. You can't live solely off of $15,000. That's not even going to cover, rent. That's not even going to cover, that's going to cover barely anything. So unless you're retired, your home is paid off, you're living off of your retirement that you've saved, nobody's going to be able to just solely dedicate their sole focus to her case. And no one's going to want to, because even if you are retired, you have other things that you want to do. So besides, give all your time and attention to Sarah. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will continue to watch for a response from the court and post or shoot up a quick video on the response. If it's just a response approving or denying, I'll probably just post it in the community post tab. But thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the comments.